Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, this is another in our series of Divi for beginners videos, and check out the playlist below the video here. Today we're going to show you 3 simple no-coding hover effects that are really effective for your site. First one here, we've got 3 images, the one on the left. If I hover over it, we got some text, a little icon pop in. When I take my mouse off, it's going to disappear. Second one here, I've got another image. When I roll over, we've got another little image that's going to zoom in. When I take my mouse off, it's going to zoom back out again, the original image. And this third one here, I've got another image. When I put my mouse on it, we're going to have some text and a call to action button drop down. Like I say, these are all really easy to do, no coding involved at all. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. Okay, once the builder's loaded, we can roll on down to where we want to work. Let's delete this section and we'll start from scratch. Okay, I'm going to add a new section, a little blue button to add a section. I'm going to make mine a regular section. Inside mine, I'm going to put 3 columns because that's how many I'm going to demonstrate today. Obviously, put as many or as few as you want in yours. Okay, when you put your columns in, it's going to prompt you to put a little module in. Divi comes with plenty of modules to build just about any site. I'm going to use the little blurb module today. When it opens up, it asks you to put in a title and a bit of content. I'm going to leave everything just as it is because I haven't got any real content, obviously. I am going to switch it from an image to an icon. If you want an image, you can click there and put an image in. I want to use an icon. There's plenty to choose from with Divi. They've teamed up with Font Awesome 4. So you can do a search. You've got a little pop-out box there. I'm going to select that little icon. Great. With all Divi modules, if you watch my Divi modules breakdown video, you'll know you can make any module link to anywhere. Put your link in here if you want to put a link. That's for the title. If you want the whole module itself, anywhere they click on this module to link somewhere, put the link in there. Always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, leave it in the same window. If you're linking off-site, open it in a new tab. That way your site's going to stay open. Fantastic. Okay, background. We did a whole video on backgrounds. You can do marvelous things. I'm going to put a simple color in there. You've got color, gradient, image, video, background pattern, or background mask there. I'm going to click on the color. I'm going to make mine black. Let's go over now to the design tab. Image and icon, I'm going to make that icon white in color. I'm going to take it down a little bit in size. Just put it in the 50, it'll put it in the pics there for you when you're happy with the size. Roll on down. Let's move on down to the text down below. Text will do both heading and title together. All I want to do is make that light in color. And I'm going to pop it in the middle. Now let's give this a little bit of padding so everything is not pushed up against the sides here. Still in design, we can close up text. We'll go down to spacing. It's where we'll always find padding. And let's perhaps give it 30 pixels all around. Just put in 30, it'll put in the pixels. If you hit the chain, it'll do the opposite side. So we've got 30 on the bottom there. Now let's do similar for left and right. Well, there we've got a little blurb module with a bit of content and an icon. But I don't really want to see that until I hover over it. What I want to see initially is just a nice image. And the way this is going to work, the image that we're going to see presides in the column that this module is sitting in. So let's save our little blurb module here. We're going to go into the row, the green tab. We've got 3 columns here. Column 1, column 2, column 3. We're working on column 1 here, which is the top one. Going to click on it, and like any other Divi module, you'll always find background under the content tab. If we roll down a little bit, background. Let's find the image we want to put in this one. So we'll go over to image. We're going to click on it. Now let's use the image we used last time, which was that one. Now, of course, you can't see it because it's actually behind this module. So let's make the magic happen. What we're going to do is we're going to save our little column here. Take you back to the main row settings. We'll save that also. We'll go back into our little module here. Now then, what we're going to do, we're going to go over to Design. And you're going to find a little tab called Filters. Here it is down here. And there's one little magic filter. They're all great, but there's one little magic filter down here called Opacity. And if I pull this slider down, you'll see what's going to happen. Our blurb module is starting to get invisible. It's going into the background, basically. So this is what I want to see when the page loads. To create a hover effect, and this is common to all modules, if you hover over the dark writing, you'll see these little icons appear. Go to the thing that you want to affect, in my case the opacity slider here. If it's got a little arrow, we can create a hover effect with it. Click on the arrow. It'll bring up two tabs, a desktop when the mouse is not on it, and a hover when the mouse is on it. Now when the mouse is not on it, that's exactly what I want to see. If we click on the hover tab, when they hover over it, we can have a completely different setting. So I want to bring it all the way back so they can see that writing there and the little icon. So we've got that on hover and that when they're not hovering. If you want to bring a bit of that image through when they've got the writing out, just to give a hint of it in the background and get a bit of effect, we can do that very easily by changing the opacity of our background also. So if we go back to content, remember background is always under content. There's background. There's our black field. Any color you've got, simply left click on it. You'll see a little variegated slider over here. That's opacity. And again, if I start bringing it down, you'll see that image start to bleed through. Just leave as much or as little of it as you want there, as long as you can read that writing still. Great. So now, while we're not hovering over it, we've got the image. When we hover over it, we've got our writing with a bit of the image in the background there. Now the time it takes by default to go from desktop to hover with Divi is 300 milliseconds, which is just under a third of a second, which is pretty quick. I like to slow these things down for a bit of a drama occasionally. If you want to slow it down or speed it up, you'll always find that over in the Advanced tab. There's Transitions. There's the default 300 mils. I'm going to take mine up to maybe 750, 3/4 of a second, 750 milliseconds. Don't want any delay. I want it to happen as soon as they put their mouse on it. And the speed curve I tend to use for my hover effects is ease in out. These are all slightly different. Some will work a lot better in certain situations than others, but that's my go-to guy for my hover effects. Great, well let's save this. When I do, that should disappear there. We're back to the image. I'm not going to save. We'll test all these at the end. I know they're going to work. Right, well, let's work on our second one. We're going to do a simple image fade to image fade, but we're going to add a bit of a zoom effect to it. So again, let's click on a little dark button to add a module. This time I'm going to use a simple image module. There it is right there. I'm going to click on the image to add my image. And that's the one I used last time. I think we'll use that one again. If I move this out of the way, there it is right there. Great, and this is going to act exactly the same way. The image that we want to sort of fade into is going to reside in the column. Now that crazy looking number and letters right there is actually the name of the image itself. If you want the name of your image there, great, leave it. If you want to get rid of that title up there, go to your Advanced, Attributes. There it is right there. You can change it or just delete it if you don't want anything to pop up there. That's great. Well, let's save this now. Let's go into our column and put in the image that we want to have initially. We're going to fade to this one. So we'll save this. Do the same as we did before. We're going to go into the row. We're working on column 2 this time. Hit the little cog. Background always under content. We'll add an image. There's that same image we used last time. And of course you can't see it. It's behind this image here. What I will do is, because I'm going to zoom this out and make this image bigger, I don't want anything outside of the column to be visible. So while we're in here, I'm going to go over to our advanced. And we're in the column, not the row. I'm going to go down to visibility. You'll find horizontal and vertical overflow. I'm going to switch both of these to hidden. Now, while we're in our columns and rows, I'm going to do the next column as well because we'll be using that for that slide down text. So I'm going to save this. It'll take us back to the row. I'm going to go into my third column. I may as well put the background image in while we're here. Images. Pop in the image you want to use. And then I'm going to go over to Advanced, Visibility, and hide horizontal and vertical. And I'll just remind you about this when we do this one. Great. So let's save this back to our main row setting. Save again. Then we can go into our image. Okay, well, to make it zoom, let's go over to our design. So I'm going to go down to Transform. First tab we see here is Transform Scale. Let's hit our little arrow. When they're not on it, I want it to be about twice that size. So I'm going to drag that up to 200%, or you can type in a value, something like that. So when it scales in, it's going to scale down like that. So I'm going to take mine up to 200. And you can type in a value, you can scale up and down with the little arrows there. There's a little chain down at the bottom. If you've got that checked, it'll do both sides at once for you. Great. Then when they hover over it, I want to take it back down to 100. And I want this to happen pretty slowly. So I'm going to go over to my advanced, down to the transitions. And I'm going to take it up to maybe 2.5 seconds. Now you can slide it up if it doesn't go far enough for you. Just type in whatever value you want. It's pretty unlimited. I want mine for 2.5 seconds, so I'm going to say 2500 milliseconds. Great. Again, no delay. Speed curve. Ease in, ease out. Fantastic. But of course, I don't want to see this first. I want to see my regular image there. So again, design, filters. I'm going to use that little opacity slider once more. I'm going to get the little arrow up. Desktop. Don't want to see anything at all. When they hover over it, going to bring it back. And if I do it here, you'll notice it's actually going to sort of zoom in and zoom out, which I think is a nice little effect there. Great. Well, let's save that and move on to our third one, which is going to be a drop-down text over image. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back in this one. I'm going to take a bit of that writing away and make it the same height as this, just because I'm like that. So let's go in here. I'm going to take maybe that much away. And then in the design, just to level it up. In spacing. And I'm going to just increment up till it's about the same size as the one next door. That'll do fine. Fantastic. Right, moving on to our third one here. Remember, we've put our image in the column background already, and we've hidden any overflow. So let's add whatever module it is. I'm going to use a call to action with mine today, as it's got a little bit of a button. Okay, put what you want your title to say right there, obviously. Put what you want your button to say there. You may have noticed there's no button. That's not going to show up till I put a link in for it. Content down below here. I'm going to shave some of this off, and so we've got room for a button in there. I want it to be about similar height as it is now. Let's just shave a bit off. Obviously, you'd have some real content there. Now let's add the button. Link down below. There's the button link. There's the module link. I'll put a hashtag in there for a placeholder. As you can see, the button's turned up when I've done that. Great. Well, let's just make it the same size as those ones next door. We can do that with a bit of padding over in design and spacing. Padding top, let's try giving it 50 pixels. I hit the chain. And that's pretty close, maybe 51. Anyway, whenever you're happy, there we are. Great. And of course, don't forget we've got that image behind there that we put in earlier. Okay. Now we can do pretty much everything right here with this one. What I want to do is push this all the way up here so we don't see it. To do that, we can use negative margin. So in the top, I'm going to type -100 and a percent sign. So it's gone up by -100%, 100% of its own size. So it's right here. And we've hidden the overflow so you can't see it. Great. But you can only see a little bit of the image there on the bottom. So in the regular state, I need to adjust that. So padding, here's the bottom here. I'm going to put 100% on the bottom. Make sure you uncheck the chain because we want to keep that 51 on the top. If I put 100%, it's almost there because we've got some padding on the top. We need to increment that up a bit. And the reason we need this here, we had a blue background on there that we need to pull down because we need something to hover over to be able to bring that text down to act as a trigger. So I need to make this same height as everything else. So even if they put their mouse down here, it's going to trigger it. At the moment, it won't. So again, we can just increment this one up until it's the height that you want it. But of course, we don't want to see the blue field there. We want to see the image that's behind there. And when they hover over it, we want to bring all this down. So again, let's bring this up here, margin. Hit the little arrow. Desktop is just where we want it. Hover. Got to change that to a 0. Now padding, make sure you roll over the padding and get the hover state up on that one. Don't try and do it just because you got it up here. You've got to do it on each of the individual. When they hover over it, I'm going to change that back to 51. px, 51 pixels. So we're back there. So we've got that. It's pushed up the top here. And we've got that. And that's all happening in 300 milliseconds. And I'm going to slow that down a little bit too. But of course, we want to see our image. We don't want to see the field. So let's go back to our content where the background is, our background color there. Well, I want it to be the same blue as we've got going on there anyway. So I'm going to click that blue. There we go. Now, any color you've got over there, we can click on the field. There's our little opacity slider. Let's go up, make sure that we've got our arrow up there. On desktop, I don't want to see any of that. So I'm going to click on the field, pull my opacity slider all the way down. So I've got the image. Then when that text slides down, I'm going to give it a full blue background. You can give it any background you want. I'm going to keep mine fairly simple by taking that opacity slider all the way back up. Great. Finally, I'm going to slow it down just a little bit with our transitions here. I'm going to speed mine up to maybe half a second, 500 milliseconds. And again, easy in, easy out. Great. Well, that was pretty easy. Let's go and test these out, make sure they're all going to work. If it's not expanded already, just hit your little purple button at the bottom. Hit save, save draft or publish if you're ready. Let's exit the Visual Builder. We'll roll on down. There's our 3 little images there. When I roll over the first one, we've got that little blurb module fading in. I think that's 750 milliseconds. Our second here, we've got an image. It's going to kind of zoom in or zoom out, whichever way around that you're looking at it. And that's a great little effect. Of course, you can have this image open in a lightbox or link it to somewhere also. And don't forget, any of these effects you can reverse by doing the opacity the opposite way. If you want to have the text first, then just flip the opacity around the other way. And our last one right here, we've got some text that's going to drop down with a little call to action button. Again, when we take our mouse off, it's going to go back up there. And I think we're doing that in about half a second. So there you go, guys. There's how to create 3 simple but effective hover effects using Divi with no coding whatsoever. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this one. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.